93, 93, 93. This is Aman Asha Renew from AshaRenew.com. Today I'm going to speak on what is the difference between a demon and a jinn. For the most part, when we think about a demon, they are in direct opposition to what we consider angels. Because essentially, a demon is a fallen angel. So when the fall of Lucifer occurred, all of the angels that sided with him or her became demons. You can say that is the mainstream story. Because once we get into the jinn, things get a lot more complex. And what I mean by that is, it's not just one type of jinn, there are different classes of jinn. And not only are there different classes of jinn, they also decide for themselves whether they're going to be righteous or not. This is one of the main differences between what we consider a demon and what we consider a jinn. Because you can say for a demon, their mind is already made up. They've already chosen their side. Versus a jinn, they are able to utilize their own free will. They are not predetermined or pre-scripted to follow in a certain direction. The reason why this makes things a little more complex, because if a person, for example, decides to work with the jinn, but jinns that are righteous, is that technically a bad thing? Well, in the mainstream, it is, because you're not supposed to work with the jinn at all. It is forbidden to have any type of dealings with the jinn at all, in mainstream Islam, just like in mainstream Christianity. And I'm sure this is the same with Judaism. You're not supposed to have any interactions with those type of spirits because they are malevolent. Excuse me. They are all considered to be riders for the so-called Satan or the devil. So if they actually have a choice as to whether they want to engage in evil or righteousness, that would mean that righteous people would have access to righteous jinn, and then evil people would have access to evil jinn. So that would mean you have jinn on both sides of the equation instead of just on one side of the equation like we are taught with demons. They're all on one side. Just like angels are all on one side. So you see, when we speak about the jinn, we cannot approach it from a absolutist perspective. Now it becomes more about the individual's karma or their decision making, because it would be the individual that draws a particular type of jinn to themselves based on their own actions versus it being premeditated. So that would more so determine what type of jinn a person would want to deal with, because it will be based on their own nature more so than all of them being negative and evil. So that's just going to be the result of any workings. Again, this is the mainstream view. But once we go into the subtle forces, we realize that it is based upon your own decision as to what type of spirits you draw to yourself and what effect they will have on you. Because they will align with you in accordance to your nature and not the other way around. So they are working upon your currency. So if your currency is righteous, then you will feed the currency of the righteous. And if it's evil, you will feed the currency of the evil. So once it becomes more about your own individual actions and how you choose to live out your life, this is what makes it a matter of either you don't deal with these energies at all, or you come to the realization that if you are experiencing anything so called negative or unpleasant, it is not because you are tapping into something that is unpleasant. It is because there is something unpleasant going on within your own heart space, which magnetize a particular force to you, more so than that force just automatically being negative. So if it becomes about what's occurring in your own subconscious, that's what will determine the type of spirits that are amongst you. So once you come to the realization that the spirits that are amongst me are the ones who want to be there, no one is forced, everyone is activated from their free will. So if everything is based on free will, there is nothing that is predetermined. Nothing is predetermined to be evil or righteous. It is based on the individual decisions. Then this takes us to a level of this is how a person becomes, you can say, great or wicked. It's not really whether they work with spirits or not. Most of them do. It comes down to what type of spirits, which is based on the type of person that they are. So this is just to keep all of us in check as to if we ever feel like things are unusual and we don't know why, we must go within before we begin to search without, before we begin to look at maybe a spirit or a bad force or something karmic, a hex or a curse, before we start moving in that direction. We must go to the source, because once the source is shifted or changed, you will notice that the change bleeds into your reality. We just may not have noticed the connection at first, but once we notice the connection, we can then build upon that connection and do so properly based on our own nature. And with that, I bear peace. 93, 93, 93.